with layers. So using the link to the website, we are going to get started from here. So we are going to click Begin Tutorial in Illustrator. That should automatically open up the Illustrator workspace for you. You might have to click Allow to allow that website to access your Illustrator workspace. So we are going to be using this Discover panel to learn how to get organized with layers. So organizing artwork and layers can make selecting work with objects much more manageable. Discover a few ways to bring order to your workflow. We are good to click Start Tutorial. So when your design requires a more precise arrangement or has several overlapping objects, layers can help you manage your artwork better. Let's see this in action. We are going to open up our Layers panel first. So we need to go to Window, Layers. Reminder, if you don't know where something is, you can always click the Show Location button. So Window is going to be up here. We're going to go down to Layers. That will pop up our Layers panel. My Discover bar's hiding it right now. So here is our Layers panel. Right now we have one layer. Click the arrow to the left of Layer 1 to view the contents of the poster design. All documents start with a single layer. So it tells us to click the arrow to the left of Layer 1, this little arrow right here. And we can see all of the things that are on this layer. Now click the arrow on the left of the first component labeled Group at the top, and you'll see the separate paths in the hand illustration. So if I scooch this out of the way and click on Group, I can view and hide it, which I'm sure we're going to learn more about in a minute, but I can click this arrow and see all of the different lines that are being used to make up this group. Now click the arrow to the left of the first component. We just did that. Most content is named in the Layers panel. When your group content, for instance, it's called a group panel. So these are all groups of items together, which will make more sense once we get started working. You can toggle the same arrow to collapse that view. This is a lot of information. I hardly ever open up my group panels, so I'm going to close that. That way I just see what is in this one layer. Then we're good to click Next. I'm now on step 2 out of 6. Creating a new layer and adding content. We need an easy way to select and edit the 3 hand icons, both together and independently. So we're going to place all of the hands on a layer by themselves. So we're going to click the Create a New Layer button, which is down here. Again, if you don't know where that's at, you can click this. This is a plus icon at the bottom of our Layers panel. So I'm going to close this Layer 1 because I'm not going to be using it right this moment. I'm going to create a new layer. Naming a layer. This is going to be very important in our project. So to name a layer, you can double click the words itself, and we're going to rename this Hands. So I just double clicked the words itself, and renamed it Hands. This is going to be really important. As you get more and more layers, it's going to be confusing if you don't have your layers labeled. In the Layers panel, drag one of the Hands icon labeled Group onto the new Hands layer. So I'm going to show this group. I can kind of see a little preview of what that is. I'm literally going to select this first hand, click it, and drag it up until that hand layer is highlighted. Then I'm going to drop it in there. I can now see that my hand layer is in there. I'm going to do that with all my hand layers. Now, if I open this, I can see that those groups of those hands are now in the hand layer. We are good to move on to step 3 out of 6. So, next we're going to create a new layer and gather all the colored letters in the poster. So we are going to click on the Hands layer to select this layer. You can tell that a layer is selected if it is highlighted a different color. So right now, my hands layer is highlighted, so that means it is selected. Then we're going to click the plus button at the bottom of our layers panel to make another layer. So create a new layer. We are going to name this layer text. So I double clicked, it's labeled text. Next, we are going to drag each group in layer 1 directly onto the text layer. So all of the letters. So I'm going to click the first set of letters, drag it up, and drop it. I'm going to click the second set of layers, drag it up until text is highlighted, and then unclick to drop it in there. I'm going to do that same thing for this last set of letters. Drag it up, drop it in there. So now I can see I just have rectangles left on that layer 1 panel. So now we can click this and view. We have all 3 texts on our text layer. Then we are good to move on. Locking layer content. So locking layer content is going to be very helpful as we get started with our projects. When you lock or hide an object on the artboard, you set up the same options in the layer panel. So let's see how to do this. Using the selection tool, we're going to click the large orange rectangle in the background. So my selection tool is up here. I'm going to select this large rectangle in the background. So basically just this background area. As soon as I select that over here in my layers panel, I see layer 1 lit up. That is telling me that this background layer is on layer 1. To lock this object, we can click down here and see that this is what we have selected. So a quick way to lock this is to go to the right of the eyeball and click that padlock. That will lock that layer and not let me move that rectangle. Notice if I have it not locked, I can move it. I'm going to hit Command Z to undo that. Another way that you can lock this is to select just that object and go to Object, Lock, Selection. And that will lock it to where I cannot move it as well. And you'll notice that the padlock appears right there. So you'll see a lock icon to the left of the orange layer labeled rectangle. We're good to move on to step 5 out of 6. Hiding layers. So to temporarily hide contents of layers is really easy and helpful if you are working with multiple layers that overlap each other. So at the top of our layers panel, we are going to click the eyeball icon to the left of the text layer panel. So this little eyeball. And as soon as I click that, you'll be able to see all of my text on that layer disappears. Now, it is not gone forever. That layer is still here. It's just hidden so I can see behind it. Select the hand icon on the artboard and reposition it as you would like to. So now I can select the hands and move them around as I need to. If this ever happens, that means that I have accidentally double-clicked on a layer and I'm now in isolation mode. If this ever happens, you need to come up here and click the back one level, and that will move me out of that isolation mode. When you are done when you're done moving around your hands to however you want them to be, you are going to click the column to the left of text layer to show the contents, like so. You just learned the key benefits of using layers. So now you can move, hide, lock, unlock, etc. all of your layers to be successful in other projects. We are good to move on to the last step. Reordering layers. This is going to be very important because the order of your layers do matter. Because in this particular example, we want the hands to be above the text. Right now, you can see my text is over on top of this hand. I want it to be the opposite. So I want the hand to be on top of my letters. So in the Layers panel, click on the arrow to the left of text to collapse, which I just did. So your screen should look like mine. I don't have any of these arrows drop down. I have it collapsed. Now we are going to drag the hands layer by its label above the text layer. So this can be confusing because if I have this text layer highlighted, Illustrator thinks that I want to drop this hand layer into the text layer. I don't want to do that. Instead, I want to drag it above. So notice how when I drag it above, there is a bar highlighted above the text layer. I'm still clicking and dragging this right now. As soon as I unclick, it will move that hands layer above the text layer. If you accidentally moved your hands layer into your text, you will have to just grab that layer and scooch it up out of there, like so. So now, notice my hand is above that text layer. And I think actually I was supposed to scooch these up. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. I'm gonna scooch my layers panel off. That way I can move around. My layers panel is right here. That way I can move my hands where they need to be. Like so. So we now know how to move layers around. We are good to click next, but I believe that's the end of our tutorial. Awesome. So now we know how to effectively use layers. You are good to close your layers panel by clicking this arrow right here. We're going to scooch our Discover bar off to the side, and we are now ready to screenshot our work. Before I screenshot my work, I'm going to use my selection tool to click off into this area, and we are good to use Shift Command 4. I just need your workspace. You are good to submit that onto Canvas.